Hello, welcome to Jason the Old Millennial. My name is Jason, speaking to you here in my basement in the great state of Kansas. Today's video, I'm continuing my countdown of ranking every single Pixar movie, and this time I'm doing number 24, or number 23 through number 20. So stay tuned to see what that is here on Jason the Old Millennial. Hello, everybody. Hope everybody's doing well here on a Tuesday evening, and brought you again another countdown ranking video, and this is ranking every single Pixar movie. I've already done number 26 to number 24, so now I'm going to cover 4 more movies on my rankings, number 23 through 20. Again, these are movies that I really do not like out of the Pixar movies. Pixar made some great movies, but they've also made some duds here, in my opinion. Some of these are pretty well-known duds. There's one that people love that are in this list, so I know I'm going to get some flack for it, but it's my opinion, my list, so here it is. At number 23, I have the movie Brave, and this is a movie I've seen on the very end of a lot of lists. I think this is pretty well not liked movie out of Pixar, one of their lesser liked movies. I know Jacob Martin has it last on his list, last time he did a Pixar list. And I don't blame anybody that puts it on the end. It definitely is one of the more lackluster movies, I guess. One of the more just not very interesting movies out of the list. Interesting, I remember when Brave was coming out, and the big deal was that Pixar, I think when Pixar started, they kind of said that they weren't going to do princess stories, that Disney Animation did princess stories. And so they're they don't do musicals and they don't do princess stories. And this was like the first one where I was like, oh, we're going to do a princess story of this Scottish princess, I guess, basically. I forget her name now, but anyways. And so it was kind of interesting to go, oh, okay, they're going to do something a little bit different than what they've been doing. And Pixar at this point was on such a roll that I was willing to watch anything they put out. So I actually saw this in theater, and I say I was pretty disappointed by it overall. I mean, it's a story of this Scottish princess, whatever, that needs to find a husband, which happens in every single princess story nowadays. So part of my problems with this is just feels like a story that's been done to death. And more than that, it's a story of this princess, and she is really good at bow and arrow and riding horses, and so she doesn't want to be your normal like stay-at-home princess. She wants to be more of a warrior type, and I feel like this trope has been done to death. And even rewatching this is just like, man, I'm just tired of this whole thing. We got the story in the show Willow, in fact, and even Game of Thrones kind of did the storyline of like, oh, the princess that doesn't want to get married and have kids, and just she wants to be a warrior like everybody else. And it's like, okay, it was maybe somewhat unique when it first happened, who knows when, but now it's been done to death. And so I wish they would stop doing that storyline. But yeah, it's one where, oh, these suitors are coming and she has to marry one, but she doesn't want to, and she proves herself like a better warrior than them and all that. And of course, but she's a princess, and princesses, oh, even House of Dragon did the storyline. In fact, I'm just now thinking it's just been done so many times. But she defies her parents, and of course that's a big deal when your royalty is getting married, especially if you're a woman. Of course, during this time period, you're supposed to get married, and the man's supposed to be in charge, kind of thing. So it's kind of this establishment kind of movie, and of course, to spoil the movie, there's like this almost, I forget exactly, there's this curse or something that happens. She meets a witch, and then her mother turns into like a bear because she rips some fabric that like belonged to the family. And so she turns into like a bear. And at that point in the movie, I was like, really? We're doing a turning to bear story? And everybody said this, and I said the same thing. It was like, didn't we do this in Brother Bear? Disney Animation did storyline where a guy turns to a bear. And so I'm like, I don't know. I felt like, oh, someone turned the bear. Like, I don't know. It just took out all the originality that could have been in the movie to me, and felt like, oh, I feel like we already done the storyline. And I said that before when talking about Turning Red. Turning Red, the girl turns into a panda, and it's like, gosh, I'm tired of these stories where people are cursed or there's family something rather generational passed down and they turn into an animal. It's like, it's just been done too many times. Anyway, so that was just very uninteresting. And overall, the movie is just very boring, and it's not funny. The action's not really anything special. There's not really a good villain. There's like a bad bear, a big grizzly bear that's kind of the bad guy, but obviously the bear can't talk or anything, and it only really shows up towards the end, towards the beginning and the end of the movie, in fact. So I thought it lacked a really good villain in it, and yeah, just didn't have enough there to make me interested. So I have Brave at number 23. Number 22, this is the one everybody's going to be mad about, but I'm sorry. Uh, it's what I feel. Number 22, I have Ratatouille. And I see a lot of people have this like number one on their list, maybe even, or towards the top five of their list. I don't know what to say. It's just, I find it just not that interesting of a storyline. A rat who wants to be a cook, and then there's this guy who works in the kitchen who doesn't know how to cook, and the rat gets on top of his head, pulls his hair, and it makes him move his limbs, which to me is just one of the stupidest storylines I've ever seen. In my opinion, I cannot I can believe rats talking. Like, I'm okay with, believing that, going, okay, here's a world where rats talk. Whatever, I'll go with it. It's an animation movie. But then when he's like pulling his hair and it makes his arms move, I just can't go with that. It's just too far for me. And at that point, I remember watching the movie just going, oh, this is such a stupid idea for a movie. I don't know. Overall, it's just a really boring story to me, and it wasn't funny. I didn't care for any of the characters. There wasn't any good side characters like I like in an animation movie. And it just nothing interesting to me in this movie. And I don't know. People love this movie. I don't get it. It's just one of those things where I know I'm in the minority, for sure, maybe the only person who doesn't care for it, but that's just the way it is. I just don't care for it. The only thing I say I will like is I like the food critic at the end. I think played by like Ian Kellen or something, or I can't remember, some old British actor. And I kind of enjoyed that last part where he is, at the restaurant, and he tries the food, and it reminds him of his childhood. Like, that was a good scene. I'll say that. And that was my favorite character, was the food critic. But yeah, for that, Ratatouille, number 22. I know, really low on my list, but that's the way it is. Number 21, this is a movie that's pretty well not liked, and that is Cars 2. In fact, a lot of people have also put this at the end of their list. This is usually at 26, 25 on their list as well, along with Brave, I think. And I totally get it. I have Cars 3 a little bit lower because Cars 3 to me was very forgettable. Nothing interesting happens. Cars 2 is not great, but at least I remember I saw it in the theater and I can remember certain things about it. And the problem with Cars 2 is, I said, both sequels seem very unnecessary. I feel like all the storylines, all the arcs ended in the first one. And this doesn't really bring anything new to the movie that we need, to the series that we needed. They decided to make it this movie where Lightning McQueen is going on this racing tour or whatever, where they go to 3 different cities, and he's trying to win this big giant race against other race cars from other countries. And I say they're from other countries. I think they go to Tokyo, Japan, and like I think they go to Paris, France, and then I think they go to London, England, or something like that. So it's cool, the different settings and the idea of like, oh, go to different cultures and see how cars act in those cultures. Like, that's not a bad idea. Like, the whole plot is not a bad one. I can see it going somewhere. Where this movie loses me is the whole plot line of Mater being accidentally thought of as a spy, and gets involved in this whole kind of James Bond mission with Michael Caine playing like this James Bond car. And a lot of the movie is Mater, being an idiot and somehow accidentally being successful in some ways, I guess. And the idea that they think he's a super spy when he's just an idiot. That trope's been done somewhat. And he's, of course, this very fish out of water. He's in these different cultures, and of course he's a redneck, and so he does understand these different cultures, and he embarrasses himself and Lightning McQueen and all that. And the whole idea behind it, and I guess the whole idea behind the movie is the friendship between Lightning McQueen and Mater. There's some tension there between the friendship, and then they come together at the end, kind of thing. But anyways, I just did not care for the whole spy story at all. Didn't need that storyline at all. I didn't think it was anything interesting. It wasn't funny. It was just kind of cringy at times. And it's just one of those things where it's like Mater he was my favorite character in Cars, but it's one of those things where the side character is better if they're a side character. Once you make the side character the main character, sometimes they can't carry a movie, and I think that's an instance where though Mater was a good side character in Cars, he's not good enough to carry a movie in Cars 2. But he's so popular that they, of course, made him the kind of main character, basically, of this movie. Like they've done with Minions, and they've done with Finding Dory. They tend to do that. So, I don't know. It didn't work. There wasn't very funny of a movie. It was too long, I think. I feel like it was like over a 2-hour movie, like 2.5-hour movie or something like that. I just remember feeling like it's too long of a movie, just not enough laughs in there, not interesting enough storyline. And Mater just kind of gets annoying after a while if he has too much screen time. So I think that was a big mistake by Pixar doing that anyways. And like I said in the last one, Cars 3, like Sally, the Porsche, who's the love interest of Lightning McQueen, is hardly in this movie because they're going to different countries, and racing. She stays back at Radiator Springs and runs her hotel, whatever. And it's like, wow, this is kind of a major character in the first movie, and she's totally on the sidelines in the second, third one. And like I said in Cars 3, you can tell that everybody criticized Cars 2 because of Mater. And so you can tell that when they get to Cars 3, Mater's like barely in the movie. So they kind of took that criticism, I think. It was like, okay, we need to make Mater a smaller character. But yeah, I think they made him too small in Cars 3, and they made him too big in Cars 2. So yeah, Cars 2 and 3 definitely missed the worst sequels, I think, in Pixar's or animation. Anyway, so yeah, so I have Cars 2 at number 21 on my list. The last movie I'm going to talk about at number 20 is called Luca, which came, I think, straight to Disney Plus. It came out maybe a couple of years ago during COVID, of course. And this is another one where it was just a very weird story that didn't really interest me at all. This kid who is like a kind of fish monster thing. I say fish monster, like half man, half fish kind of creature from the Black Lagoon character who lives under sea but wants to go out to the land and kind of see what's going on there. And he's told, don't go up there because the humans are bad or whatever, and by his parents. And so, but it turns out, and then he meets another friend, guy that's just like him. And it turns out when they go up on land that they look like a human being. When water touches them, they turn to these half fishmen kind of things. So I don't know. That's the whole storyline. I was like, okay. I remember seeing the trailer and it's like, I don't know. That didn't sound like that interesting of a storyline, and I'm not sure what they're going for that. And it's just a very weak story. I think it's one of the weakest stories I've all. And Pixar is about great stories usually. And this is, definitely one of the weaker ones, because the whole thing was just he wants to, intermingle with like the humans, and of course he can't let them know that he's a half man, half fish thing, or they might, kill him or something. And they're in Italy, and there's this whole race. It's all about this moped race. They want a moped for some reason. I can't remember now why, but for some reason they want a moped, and so they have to compete in this race to get this moped. So they even befriend this human girl to help them with this race or whatever. And so it's like, that's a whole story plotline. We want to win this moped because that'd make us more human or something. I don't know. And so we're going to do this race. And there's this other guy who's the bad guy, but he's really just he's not really that evil of a bad guy. He's just a bully, basically. Just this Italian bully who's not even that big of a bully. I don't know. It was a very weak villain character. Overall, just a really weak storyline. Not a lot of laughs here. There's some dramatic moments, but nothing really catches you or makes you emotional. It's just a very, very mediocre movie all around. And it's just very forgettable too. It's one of those you watch and I totally forget it most of the movie after I watch it. I don't know. It's just one of those, a lot of big Pixar movies, and then there's every once in a while there's this one that just comes out and you're like, oh, this is the best they can do. Like, it's hard because the standard's so high for Pixar that when they put out a movie like Luca, you're just like, ah. And I know not every movie can be a home run hit, but it's like, when it's Pixar, you kind of expect more out of it. And so that's why I have Luca here at number 20 on my list. So that's my 23 through 20. Still kind of the bottom of the Pixar. We're going to get in my top 20. You don't really get to really good movies, in my opinion, until top 10, really. There's some okay movies in there, but I don't know. I'm pretty picky. My expectations are pretty high when it comes to Pixar. So definitely with the top 10, the ten best movies are really, really great movies that I absolutely love. Anyway, so but besides that, I'm gonna talk a lot about what I think is mediocre about Pixar. But anyway, so that's my list. Feel free to tell me what you think. I know you're gonna hate me because of Ratatouille. I'm sorry. I apologize for that, but just let me know what you think, and all that. And just thank you for watching this video. Thank you for liking it. Thank you to all my subscribers for supporting the channel. I appreciate all of you and hope you have a good day.